Merry Christmas!
So lift up your voice and sing out His praise. It's Christmas, boys the King, rejoice in the day. It's Christmas, make a joyful sound. It's Christmas, let His praise resound. It's Christmas.
And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks at night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Today, in the town of David, a Saviour has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord."
So it's Christmas Day, and I hope you've enjoyed these countdowns. Well, for today, as being a special day, we're here at a local farmyard thanks to our dear friends Neil and Jane Dyson. And I hope that, stripped of Christmas trees, of the parties, whether with work or family or friends, even stripped of a church, so we'll get back to something of that message of the first Christmas. Away from the trimmings, we can get to the simplicity of the good news of what Christmas brings for all people. Now, in our Christmas nativity plays, so we're used to thousands of children every year putting on bathrobes, tea towels to act out the part of shepherds. And so we've grown used to associating the birth of Jesus with rural scenes like this. And we think, perhaps sentimentally, of fluffy little lambs and of cattle near the manger. But why did Luke include a reference to the shepherds on that first Christmas? Well, he didn't have in mind the sentimental view that we might have. Rather, they're there to teach us something. That they, like Joseph and Mary, received an angelic message. And it's the way that they responded that perhaps we can learn from their response. They listened well, they were able to overcome their fears, and then, because of that, were able to go out and share the good news with others. But it began with listening well. Now, I don't know about you, but that can be a really hard thing to do, can't it? To really listen to someone. And if I'm going to confess, in our marriage. So there will be those times when perhaps I don't listen as carefully to what Jo says, my wife, as I should do. I might hear her say something. I might be able to remember that she spoke about something, but I don't really let it sink in as to what she's actually said, because I'm not paying proper attention to what's being said. And it can be a bit like that with Christmas, can't it? That you can hear someone like myself starting to speak about the first Christmas, and we switch off because we think we know the story. But like listening but not listening well is bad for a marriage, so too with the first Christmas. We need to really listen, because actually this is a story that is life transforming and world changing with its implications. In the Bible, there are so many places where they give simple statements about life and faith. But you know, the more we reflect on them, the more we can find there are deep wells of wisdom, often very radical and challenging, because they have implications as to how we live them out in our life. We don't just hear them and read them, but there's that challenge to live them out. So in fact, the Bible is full of treasures that will take a lifetime for you to explore. But at the end of today's reading, we're told that Mary pondered and treasured what she'd heard on that first Christmas day and what had happened. And I've been struck again by reading these accounts in the Bible of Jesus' birth. Because if we take it seriously, then there's a whole load of questions that come to mind. Because what if Jesus is who he says he is? What if he is the Saviour of the world? What if in him we can find peace and a sense of purpose and meaning in life? Then what difference does that make to the way we think, to our relationships, to the way we live each day? Then after listening, we hear how the shepherds overcame their fears because of who Jesus is and the peace that he brings. Now, when the Bible talks about peace, it's not talking about a trouble-free or stress-free life. And by mentioning shepherds, so they were the lowest of the low in their day, and they would have had their fair share of troubles. No, what the Bible's talking about is something much deeper than that. And actually, over the last few days, I've had the privilege of being with many people who are really struggling with life at the moment. And I'm so thankful that the message of faith and Christmas can bring an answer to our questions and bring hope into our lives. For in fact, what Christmas is saying as we sing the carol, God and Sinners Reconciled, is that through the grace of God, we can find peace with God, we can be at peace with ourselves, and then we can share that peace with others, making this world a better place in which to live. The message of Christmas reminds us to fear not, for Jesus brings good tidings of great joy to all people. In the greatest love story ever told, God shows us through Christmas that he's not prepared to leave us where we are, but that in Jesus he comes looking for us. And in Jesus, so he communicates that great love that he has for us and a way back to him. So if you want to overcome your fears, if you want a life that's filled with joy and peace and purpose, then on this day, remember the one whose birthday we're celebrating and turn to him in prayer. You know, someone once said that if you take Christ out of Christmas, all you're left with is M&S. And as good as their food is, there's so much more to Christmas. So as you go about this day, may you go about it with a spring in your step and hope in your heart. Because Christmas is here, Jesus is alive, and with God all things are possible.